Hi everyone, good morning and good afternoon, depending on where you're joining from. And yeah, it's day 4 of the AfriLabs of Learning Week special edition. I believe by now we have been learning quite a lot. It's been educative, it's been engaging, it's been insightful, and we've been getting great feedback from you as regards this. So we are really excited. As it's tradition, please feel free to type in your name of hub, and location of where you're joining in. We want to start by thanking our sponsors, the French Development Agency and Digital Africa, for this opportunity and for putting together such a learning experience. Yesterday, I announced about getting a certificate post the session, so which is quite exciting. So today we're going to be talking about building successful women-owned businesses through effective mentorship strategies. And today's facilitator is Malik Khan, who is the founder of the Disruptive Lab Gambia, the first innovation center, tech hub, and co-working space, with a goal to boost human capital, digital literacy, and successful entrepreneurial programs. I'm really excited about today's section, but there's a plus to it. So someone is joining him, and I will leave it to Malik to introduce her. Malik, over to you.
Kenai, thank you so much. It's an honor to be here and to be presenting for AfriLabs. So I'll be presenting with my wife. I'll give you more details on her, but our Malik Khan, she runs our women program. But I think I'll get started and then I'll talk a little bit because I have a slide where I talk about her. So if we can, whenever we're ready to get started, when I get to that, I'll kind of give you a little bit more information on who she is. And then at the end, she will come in and kind of talk about her experiences and give us some insights on women running successful women-owned business mentorship programs. So I'll just start the deck here. Okay, so I guess I have to control the slides with the software. Okay, welcome everyone. My name is Malik. I am the founder of Innovate Gambia, one of the, see, I have too many hats, but Disruptive Lab. So my day job is I'm the founder and CEO of a tech company called Point Click Technologies based in the US. Our company decided to invest back in Africa, and that is how the Disruptive Lab came about. We looked at all the things that are going on in Africa, how things are just, evolving and trying to get better. So we wanted to be part of that. And that is the reason for our company to make the investment in building out the first tech hub in Gambia. But then among other initiatives, when it comes to digital transformation and also helping women businesses thrive. And the goal of this topic is to really talk about building successful women-owned businesses through effective mentorship strategies. And this is a great topic for us because we already have had experience over the past 2 years of running these programs. So the goal is to share some of that with you. And I have our Malik Khan, who will be joining as a guest speaker. She runs the women program, which we kind of dubbed it as the woman boss. And we'll kind of explain why we did that. It was a little bit kind of, when we applied to do this talk, we talked a lot about the woman boss. So AfriLabs was like, well, they're not a member, but we will make them a member. But the reason we wanted to do that was to kind of create something special, something that as I go on through the slides, you will see why we decided to do that, because it was something that we were really intentional about and wanted to make the impact of, if you look at the title here, where it talks about building successful entrepreneurship mentorship strategies, and that is the focus of this. So I'll talk a little bit about her. So we kind of have this session in 4 modules. So we'll kind of go through defining mentorship strategies and coaching. In module 2, about hacking mentoring. And in module 3, we'll kind of give you some insights on advancing your mentorship strategies. And then in module 4, this is where our mayor will come in and discuss some of the ways that they've applied mentorship strategies and how you can also do the same for your hub. Who are the target participants for these? If you're a hub operator or a manager, this is a great topic for you. If you're a program manager or a director, this is also something that you can learn from, or a mentor or an entrepreneur or a mentee. So it kind of covers all realms of mentorship programs especially targeted at women businesses. So the learning objectives are going to be learn effective mentoring and coaching strategies. And number 2, creating a connection with your mentorship programs. And I'll give you a little bit more insight on what I mean about creating a connection with it. Going beyond the conventional methods of mentorship. And then we'll learn how to implement your strategies for success, particularly targeted at women entrepreneurs. So in module 1, I'm going to cover taking a foundational approach to defining your mentorship strategies for women. And then 2, understanding and defining mentorship strategies that work best for your hub. So to start and kick this off, I'm originally from Gambia. I was born there since I was until I was about 14 years old, and I was my mom took me to the U.S. But when I talk about building a foundational approach to defining your mentorship strategies, you should do mentorship strategies for women with intention of making sure that you have this particular connection with it. For me, my connection is that I was raised by a single mother. Okay, she kind of risked her entire life and whatever she wanted to do for herself, for us, by taking us to the U.S. at the age of, I think she was about 42 years old. So we were in the U.S. for a whole year, homeless, not out on the streets and didn't have somewhere to sleep, but we were bouncing from house to house to house. So my mom wasn't the type of mom that really was on me and, just parenting all the time. She was a woman of action. So me growing up and watching her throughout the years of her actions makes me want to help other women to be like the mother that raised me. And with that, I didn't have a picture of her here, but my grandmother also played a critical role when I was in Gambia every summer. Most of my peers will go to the UK or some other European country for holidays, which I did too sometimes, but most of the time, she would take me to the village where, there's no electricity. We have to wake up early in the morning and go fetch water. So a lot of those experiences, my grandmother was able to instill in me. And then my wife, our Malik Khan, who is a leader. She's she's just awesome. So I'll read out her profile once I'm done talking about how she inspired me to be able to to want to help women entrepreneurs as well. She kind of got her MBA through her first pregnancy with our son, who's now an adult kid. Having to go through working and then being an employee to men bosses. One day she came home, she was crying. I was like, "What's wrong?" She was like, "Well, my boss said blah, 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 blah." And I looked at her, I was like, you should never allow any person, especially a man, to ever make you feel otherwise. So these are all things that for me, I have this connection of making sure that our mentorship strategies for women are taken seriously, and it's something that we really care about. And last but not least, I have 2 daughters that I'm raising, so I get to really spend time with them, understand them, and see the difference between, I have a son and having 2 daughters, how they differ. How I feel. For me personally, this is not something I'm saying because it's a women program, but I think women are much more stronger than men, even though, in Africa, especially in Gambia, they just feel that women should be at home, women should not go to school, women need to cook, need to do all these things. No, I think it should be a shared responsibility. And as men, we should really do whatever we can to encourage women to be better in what the things that they're doing. So defining mentorship, we all know what mentorship is. So this talk is really not going to be a lecture on mentoring or some strategies, but it's about experiences and some insights on how we do mentoring and how you should really take the approach. So when you're having a mentor, you're looking for somebody to give advice, somebody to motivate your entrepreneurs or help give them direction, give them coaching, training, support, set goals, and all these things. So these are some of the things that as you're building your strategies, you need to kind of define what is it that your entrepreneurs, your women entrepreneurs need, because the needs for a man and a woman are going to be totally different, especially in Africa. There's some of, I mean, I'm not going to say Africa in general, but I'll just kind of speak in the context of the experience that we've had in Gambia, where, when we kind of put this whole thing together and saying we wanted the women just to be by themselves, we're able to get a lot more from them versus if you were to mix them up with men. They're able to open up there are some cases where even you're mentoring some of these people, they go deep into their personal lives. So if you're trying to build a business, but you have all these limitations and challenges in your personal lives, maybe your husband is not supportive or your boyfriend is not supportive or some of these things, how do you kind of navigate through that? So your coaching strategies for women has to be something that's very intentional for you guys. So you need to make sure that it is something that you kind of invested in and make sure that, these are things that you're ready to work on. So a mentor, what is a mentor? So if you wanted to define a mentor, I think the great scientist Isaac Newton said, if I have seen further than others, it is by standing upon the shoulders of giants. That is a big statement, making sure that people that are ready to be helped, you can be that giant for them so they can kind of, you get on your shoulders, you do whatever you have to do to help them out. And for women, they're a lot more fragile, so you have to be a lot more sensitive to their needs and be a lot more attentive to what some of the things that they need. Mentors will typically see more in people than the people themselves see in themselves. And you have to realize also that mentorship is a lifelong learning and relationship building act. It's not something that you just, say, I'm just going to do it and move on. And successful mentees, they go on to become giants themselves. So that is another strategy that you want to make sure that in your mentorship programs, you mentor your entrepreneurs to also become mentors to others. Mentorship is not a transaction. You don't just do a mentor program for 30 days or 60 days or 90 days. And then when it's done, you kind of just, they fall off. Again, lifelong learning relationship, making sure that it's ongoing all the time. Why mentorship matters. I was at a conference about maybe 3-4 years ago, and I actually took a photo of this slide when the guy was presenting. And it was something that really caught my eye, that 85% of your financial success is due to your personality and your ability to communicate, negotiate, and lead. Shockingly, only 15% is due to your technical knowledge. And I've seen many programs, mentorship programs, that focus heavily on the technical details. For us, we try to focus on the opposite, on those communication skills, on those negotiation skills, how to lead. Maybe you may not be able to change somebody's personality if they already kind of have certain habits, but you can help improve it or maybe guide them towards that. But that 85% is key to making sure that your mentorship programs are really honing into those areas and less on the technical skills. Because the technical skills, they can always learn that through books and maybe some other programs, but hone in on the personal skills. So in module 2, I'm going to cover some methods of hacking mentoring. So we'll talk about non-traditional ways of mentorship and being intentional about your mentorship program, specifically for women entrepreneurs. So some of the ways that we kind of shy away from the traditional ways of mentorship, which is typically me as a mentee or your entrepreneur, and then you kind of match them with a mentor. But there's a plethora of information out there today, from books to video content and all that stuff. So look at building a blended library of learning and mentoring for your learning and mentoring programs. These can include paperback books or ebooks. We have Kindles at our space where if anybody wants to use, read a book that we don't have in a physical copy, they can use the Kindle and read it. We also have subscriptions to Audible, which is audio programming for many books that are out there today. So we have programs where we'll do audio reading, or we'll come in and set time, listen to the audio together, and then at the end we'll kind of discuss, what we learned. That's also a form of mentorship. Build programs around online video content. Content like TED Talks. TED Talks are awesome. If you go on YouTube or TED's website, there's a bunch of different content that I think as you consume them with your entrepreneurs, this will help, bring about a lot of other things without having to worry about finding mentors. So this is a mentorship strategy that I believe that every hub should really try to put into their portfolio of mentorship strategies. Masterclass. I'm not sure if you heard of Masterclass, but this is something new that we just added as well, where you're getting to learn from some of these big-time CEOs. I've got a chance to watch Howard Schultz, who is the CEO of Starbucks, Bob Geiger, the CEO of Disney, even Serena Williams. Serena Williams is talking about tennis, but having to learn as a woman on how she handles, when she had her baby, what she was struggling with, when she loses, how she reacts. These are all strategies that I think it's very difficult to try to find one-to-one matching mentors to do that. So leverage some of these online platforms that are out there to add it into your program. Form book clubs. So in our hub, we have, book clubs that where, depends on what topic people are interested in. We have clubs where people will kind of, join, and then you create your meetings, your agendas. That way you can kind of have meetings and discuss some of the things that you're learning together. And last but not least, on hacking mentorship, try to flip the mentorship power structure. Typically, the mentor is not always in power, or you should allow your mentor to be in power. Instead, try to make sure that your entrepreneurs and your mentees are taught how to take charge of their mentor relationship by helping them understand what is it that they want from a mentor, what are some of the goals that they're trying to achieve. This makes it easier, so when you match somebody with a mentor, they can actually understand what is it that they need to help that person with rather than, okay, you guys meet and then they kind of figure it out, and sometimes it doesn't really work out because they don't really understand what the other person wants. And it also gives you a better way of knowing who to match who with based on the chemistry and what you know about them. So this is an example of some of the books that we have at our space and the library that we're building. And what we've done with this, we don't only make it available to just members. We made it available to the entire public. So it doesn't matter if you have space there, if you're an entrepreneur, you can be a student at the university, see a book that you, and then every month we add books and then we'll put it on social media. So if anybody's interested, we have a system where you can come in and check out these books. But these are very important because mentorship, goes, you have to kind of get it from other places if you don't have the caliber of people around, such as, maybe big countries like, right now I'm in Spain or in the US or, some of these other that already have a lot of people. So we have to leverage this stuff that's out there. So we buy books, bring them in, and building a library to talk about different things that we think will help the individual. Because at the end of the day, it's about personal development. Mentorship is about personal development, but a lot of people think of it as mentorship is about somebody helping me with my business. No, that business is being run by an actual person. So the more you develop them, the more they know, the more they're able to, understand the landscape of the personal things, that 85% that we were talking about, the better they'll be able to run their programs, and the better they will be able to become a business owner. Here's an example of our book clubs. So this is one of the book clubs where this was actually internal staff. We also do the same reading clubs inside inside the company, to where we'll kind of pick a book for a month, we'll review it, and then when you put these things together, make sure you put rules and regulations around them. For example, we had a book review, and I think there was 7 staff. 5 of the staff read the book, and the day of the day we were going to do the review, the other 2 didn't. And when you allow that type of stuff to happen, then the others won't be motivated to read it anymore. So I was forced to ask the 2 that didn't read it to not only leave the room, but to leave the office completely. Like, just pack your stuff. And luckily that it was during the day. So I think it was a 10 o'clock meeting. So as soon as they got in, I understood that they didn't read the book. I said, pack your stuff, go home, and do not come back to the office until you've read the book. It was on a weekday, so they had to come to work the next day. So if they wanted to come to work the next day, they found a way to read that book, because I didn't accept any excuses. So these are some of the things that you have to also make sure that when you're building your programs, don't just bring people that are interested. Make sure that they're committed to making sure that they do some of these things. In terms of video content, so we have this program at the Disruptive Lab called Tech Night Out. So it's every second Friday of the month, where we'll come in, we'll have maybe a local company sponsor some of the food, maybe pizza, popcorn, and things like that. We'll all kind of, just come in. We have a set time where we will watch the video content. One of the ones we watched was Inside Bill Gates' Brain, which is a Netflix series. So we also have a Netflix subscription, and we're able to play a lot of this content on this documentary. So we get to learn, things about Bill Gates, or how he, runs his days, his meetings, how, so very insightful stuff. And at the end, we all kind of discuss, what are some of the things that we learned from him. Again, it is not a one-to-one mentorship, but you're kind of mentoring in a different way, and people are learning from it. So using video it's very key. We've watched quite a few like Steve Jobs movies on the tech side, and then some other programs as well. but mix and match it. And we've been doing just regular movie nights where you don't really have to discuss anything business, but more of trying to create that connection with your mentorship programs. This is a screenshot of doing audiobook reviews. We have iPads in the center as well, where we download the Audible app, and then staff can use them. Members can also leverage them and listen to some of the books. The nice thing with Audible, it kind of keep tracks of the hours you're spending, reading audiobooks and things like that, and you can kind of do bookmarks. So a lot of different things you can do with Audible. There's other platforms as well, but we just use Audible. So you're welcome to use whatever else is out there. So this is like the piece where, for me, is where it is being intentional about your mentorship strategies. Understanding what is it that you want with your mentorship programs. So as a hub, if you're going to support women entrepreneurs, I believe you need to answer a few questions. Why? Why are you doing it? In the beginning, I talked about my connection with women on why I'm so passionate about making sure that I can help them grow in whatever they want to do personally or otherwise. And then understanding what does it mean to succeed? And once you define that, is how are you going to accomplish it? And a good follow-up question, for example, let's say you said, okay, my goal is to help 10 entrepreneurs succeed in 2021. So what exactly does that mean for your hub? So, and then this will help you understand how to set the goals that you need. So for example, the key results of attaining or helping out 10 small businesses, women entrepreneurs, is, okay, I'll be able to help create 20 jobs in my community, okay? Or I'll be able to increase the quality of life for my entrepreneurs, or they'll be able to succeed and help others succeed as well. So defining your why, what it means, how you're going to do it is really critical when you're trying to do some of these programs. Again, and this only comes if you're really intentional about it. I put a screenshot here to kind of show how we've kind of approached it. When we decided to invest back in our country, we make the commitment that we were going to spend up to $1 million of our own money. This was not money that was given to us by any donor organization. This was something we said, you know what, if we're going to go do it, let's go ahead and build a plan. So we built this booklet that I'm holding here. At the time, that's Mrs. Tambajang, who was the vice president of the Gambia. They have since changed to a new vice president. But she was in New York. I was in North Carolina. I flew all the way to New York to present the book. This book took us about a month and a half to put together and a lot of money to design. But this is where we defined why we wanted to do it, what it meant to succeed, and how we were going to do it. And we carried this book around to get everybody's buy-in. That way, at the end of the day, we can all kind of reach the same things. And the things we covered there are just the 4 initiatives we had: the Disruptive Lab, which we've already launched, Digitize Gambia, I'm in tech, so building data centers and helping with strategies to help the country move forward using technology. And then women entrepreneurship, creating the Woman Boss, where we've now had 3 cohorts, supported over 100 women that are in mentorship programs. And I'll let our mayor to kind of talk a little bit about that. And then we have the Gambia Community Innovation Fund. Again, this level of involvement is showing that you are very intentional to do. So if you're going to get into the game of, okay, we're going to help women entrepreneurs, make sure that it's well written, you have a plan, and then that way you're not going to do it by yourself. You have actually people that will buy into that and then help you, support you. So again, being intentional. So some of the things that I see that happens out there with mentor programs, things I think you should do away with, some strategies. The sink or swim strategy, whereas you come in, I'm a hub, I'm trying to, mentor as many people as possible. You match your mentor with your mentee, and then after they're done, you just leave them in the dark. That is not, it's, like I said, if you look at the reminder there, mentorship is a lifelong learning activity. So you have to make sure that you're not just dumping them in there, and then when they're done, they're kind of like, okay, what do I do now? But keep them into your system. That way they can continue to learn, maybe come into those programs, the book clubs. So it's a continuous thing that they have to keep doing. Copy and pasting programs. I've seen people that will just, maybe it's a hub that focuses on something else, but because women entrepreneurship is the hot topic now, and there's a lot of funds for it, you want to jump in and do that. No, if it doesn't align well with your hub mentorship strategies, don't just copy and paste. You're going to copy and paste. It's fine to copy and paste. Everybody does it. Most people do it. Make sure you modify it to your hub and what you want to achieve. Okay. And then you have to also understand that strategies that may work in areas like Silicon Valley or in Germany or in UK or in Egypt or in Algeria, it's not necessarily going to work in your area because you have different circumstances. You have local issues. You have different contexts that you have to worry about. So make sure that don't just take programs or look at what somebody else is doing in another country and then think it's going to work there. I'm telling you this because we made the same mistake. I know I made the same mistake of coming to Gambia thinking, oh, I can take all the success we've had in the US and bring it here. Boy, it was quick somebody to just slap you in your face and say, you better sit down and learn how we do things here. And you have to adapt to that until you can kind of get them to where you want them to be. And don't do it just because of potential funding. You know, if you see that women entrepreneurship programs are being funded by a lot of these organizations out there, and then you want some of those funds, and you're doing it just for that, that is the wrong reason why you should be supporting your women entrepreneurs. Again, you should be intentional about it, and you should have a connection. That way, if stuff don't work or things are not failing, you would always kind of fall back to, okay, this was something that I know it worked well because we believed in it, and then you keep moving. So try these strategies instead. Make it a top priority to develop women. Again, if you do away with all those strategies on the top, this will be your top priority to make sure that you're developing women, because mentorship is about developing people. And if it's a women, if you're trying to support your women, you want to make sure that you create programs that are just for them. We have the Disruptive Lab, which is, you know, we have a big space, but the woman boss has its own space within the space. They have their own entrance, their own bathroom, their own kitchen, everything is there, but it's still the same. But we wanted to kind of create that separation. The people that work for Woman Boss work for Disruptive Lab. The people that work for Disruptive Lab work for Woman Boss. So, but it was a strategy and a priority to make sure that all these things were really being done specifically for the women. Blend your local context plus culture into your strategy. Again, the stuff that works in Silicon Valley works there because they have the network, they have the infrastructure, they have all these things. You have to take those into account when you are using strategies from other places. Blend them with your local context and then the culture and strategy that you have. Again, if you go back to your why and your connection, this will help you make sure that you have programs that are successful. Now, with all this said, you can't help everybody, okay? There are people that are gonna be really, really good in your programs. Some will just not be good in your programs. So you have to limit who you decide to take along, okay? There's a saying that if you need to focus 80% of your time to the top 20% of the women entrepreneurs that you're supporting. And it is your job, once you start weeding out some of these entrepreneurs, you'll know who the good ones are. So try to make sure that you spend a lot of your time there. Imagine trying to you know, fly somewhere on a plane that only takes a few people. Let's say it takes 12 people, but you put 24 people in the airplane. That airplane will never take off. So it is really critical that you make sure that you limit who you decide to take along with your program, and make sure that you're kind of weeding a lot of these entrepreneurs and kind of focus your time on the ones that are good and that are going to be good leaders. So being intentional in our approach, again, like I said, the Woman Boss is part of everything that we're doing, the Innovate Gambia, the Disruptive Lab. But we were really intentional about making sure that it was something that was created just for women, because you can see when we walk into the Woman Boss space, the women that are there, they feel a lot more, you know, they feel a lot more relaxed. They're able to share a lot more. We're able to find out so much about them because they're willing to share. And then having a woman also run it, such as my wife, just makes it even better. So in this picture, just showing, you know, the group of the cohorts that we've had doing events where, you know, we pick the women entrepreneurs, like this lady here does cakes and desserts. She was able to cater everything, showcase her product and all that stuff. And then the space, you know, has the logo for Woman Boss and all that stuff. So again, being intentional and making sure that your strategies are aligned, and we were really destined to say, you know, we are going to succeed. Whatever the stigma is about women, we are going to kind of remove all of those barriers and make sure that they're successful. Now, there's one down thing that we see in Africa is because everybody or some of these men out there think the women belongs in the kitchen or some of these things. Whenever, we try to present the woman boss, well, how about the man boss? How about this? How about that? And then try to downplay that. Why can't you create a similar program for boys? We have the Disruptive Lab is for boys. Everything else that we're doing is for boys and girls, for everybody else, because they're not used to this. They're not used to people seeing, having programs that really have that intention of making sure that we can empower women, but not just empower them, but making sure that they succeed in the process. So this is the last module for me, and then our mentor will come in. It's advancing your mentorship strategies. So these are strategies to help you advance your mentorship programs for women. And when I say, advancing your strategies, you need to make sure the steps you need to take is set clear expectations for your mentees, okay? And then your mentees need to understand that what they want out of this mentor relationship, it's whatever they put in is what they're going to get out. So they need to understand that. They also need to make the time commitment, because if you are asking somebody else to come in and spend time with them, they need to make that commitment. And I'll give you a quick example of people that typically ask me to mentor them. There was this gentleman that asked me to mentor him. So I was like, meet me in my office on a certain day. I normally get into the office at 9, but for that day, I told him meet me at 7 a.m. I got to the office at 6:45 a.m. He got there at 7:16 a.m. So he was 16 minutes late. So I looked him in the face. I was like, look, if we're going to make this mentorship deal, you have to respect my time just like I'm going to respect your time. So what we need to do is we're going to go home. You're going to go home and come back the next day on time. Even though he was only 16 minutes late, but I didn't let that. I just wanted to kind of send a message. The next morning, as soon as I pulled up in the parking lot at 6:45, his car was in there waiting because he had made that commitment. And so don't be afraid to make sure that your mentees, you're sending that message that this is not something that we're just doing just because you're interested in it, because you're going to be asking your mentors to do that. Know what you want from your mentors. Help them understand what are the top. I'm going to really speed up here because I've been on for 30 minutes now. So our American come in, so we have some time for questions. Know what they want. What are the top 3 to 5 things that a mentee wants from a mentor? If they don't know that, you should help them define it. Setting goals and objectives. This is also critical. They need to set goals, objectives, and make sure that their goals are, I didn't put that here, but you should know the SMART, be specific, be measurable, be attainable, be realistic, and time-bound. So all those things are really critical as hubs. As part of our strategy to help these women entrepreneurs be successful, we have to take these into consideration. And for your mentors, make sure your mentors, they don't necessarily have to have the local context or industry knowledge or context, but if it's possible, it's good. If not, it's fine. They also have to make the time commitment. It's good to have sponsorship. It's good to have sponsors that believe so much into their mentees that they sponsor them. Sponsorship means not giving them money, but talking good about them or talking about their products or about their services and things like that. They should also bring their resources and network and giving access to the mentees to that. And then any market linkages that they have, the mentor should not kind of, hold back on those and help these people grow. So when we talk about advancing mentorship, I think it's really critical. It's really difficult to help a person that you don't know much about. So one of the things that we do in these pictures that you're seeing here, we once we set up a boat ride that was like a 6-hour boat ride on the River Gambia. We invited all the entrepreneurs. I was there. My wife was there. Even our kids came along with us. Some of these entrepreneurs came. They brought their kids as well. Now you're in a setting that's outside of the boardroom. You're in a setting that's outside of your hub. And the things that you find out about these individuals is amazing because you are outside of that official, environment. So making sure that you have programs like this that has absolutely nothing to do with business. It's just, hey, you know what? Let's celebrate life. Let's celebrate our success. Let's celebrate, us meeting. But then during that ride, you get to talk to some of them so you find out a lot more. Because what this does, it also helps you understand the person. It helps you understand their struggles, what they're weak at, what they're strong at. So when you're doing your mentorship matchup, you can match them very well. We also did a picnic. The handsome gentleman there, smiling, that's Omar. That's my wife's brother. He does all the training, but he's a phenomenal DJ as well. We did the picnic at the beach. He brought all his equipment. again, all we said was just all the entrepreneurs just, cook your favorite meals, bring it in. We all got to the beach. They had in that circle there, they all got together and just renew their bond together, because the goal is not just to mentor them, but also to make sure that these entrepreneurs connect together so they can do business together. So without further ado, I hope that was helpful and insightful for a lot of you guys. So I'm going to invite our Mary to kind of give you her perspective. And she's so amazing. I don't want to miss anything. So let me just read her bio for you guys. So our Mary has over 20 years experience as an executive in the nonprofit community, development and entrepreneurial ecosystem. She is the founder and she founded the first creative space for women only in West Africa, which is the Woman Boss. At least at the time, there was no dedicated women's space. Maybe nowadays, who knows? But I think she was the first one to do that. She has experience managing social impact for funds for entrepreneurs. She's a global speaker. No program for Blacks, but this now has gone global, where she started the program for what's called now Black Entrepreneurship Week, where every year they have a week, just like the entrepreneurship week with global with Jen. All these entrepreneurs and different parties come out and do things for Black people. So she founded that. She's also the founder of the first innovation hub in Raleigh in connection with the HBCU. If you watch this year's U.S. elections, the vice president graduated from HBCU, Howard University. My wife also graduated from HBCU. So she was able to form a partnership with the local university that she went to, with the city of Raleigh, and where she was working before, to create the first innovation center in Raleigh, North Carolina. So amazing. So a lot of the stuff she's taking and transferred into Gambia. She was named 35 women to move Africa forward. She was also named the leader of diversity by the Triangle Business Journal in 2018, 2017. She was nominated for Women of the Year in Economic Development in the U.S., and she's a philanthropist. So without further ado, our Mary, take the floor, and I thank you all for your time, and hopefully we'll have enough time for some questions.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Hopefully you all can hear me well. Thank you so much for that introduction, and thank you, AfriLabs, for having me. And just wanted to share a little bit that Malik, I think he covered a lot of the things that we already do. So in terms of the Woman Boss, myself thought about things that I can do with all my experience and all the knowledge that were planted in me in the United States. I thought, why not go back and give back to my community of the Gambia, West Africa, and help my African women? And so that's how the Woman Boss was born. It came, with an idea, then we launched in 2017, and now we're fully operational in the Gambia, West Africa. So what the Woman Boss is just a space that focuses on innovation, entrepreneurship, and leadership. We focus on those three for women entrepreneurs. And for what our mentorship program looks like, just to give you a little bit to background, I'm trying to be mindful of time just in case you guys have questions, but we focus those three. We have different programs, so I'll put into the type box. Maybe Malik can just go ahead and type our website so you guys can take a look at it. And if you have any questions, please reach out. I'll share my email address as well. So for our mentorship program, we actually have all of our mentors right now. They are in between local and in the diaspora. And what I wanted to do was to create that linkage, being that, obviously I grew up in the United States. A lot of my network is in the United States. So I figured, why not connect the diaspora and to give my women entrepreneurs an additional market and, combine that and have access to that. So what we did were, I created my network of mentors, and when I go through programs, I pretty much match them to that. That's one, because what we'll do within that too is creating an international market for them. So for example, I have mentors within, the United States that would order products from these women. So I think it would be, for example, like I have, women that do shea butters and make oils and so on and so forth. And I have mentors in the United States that actually use those for their businesses. So they were able to match that to create that market linkage for them. That's one. So being intentional is very, very important. Another thing that we do is for International Women's Day, every March, we hold 2 different series. One is the Women in Leadership series. Another one is a Girls in Leadership series. And for those, usually we'll have attendance between, for the 2 days combined, anywhere between 250 to 300 attendees that will attend. And when they attend, we have a sign-up sheet to say, women entrepreneurs, or women that are attending. Obviously it could be anywhere from we say for the women in leadership is ages 18 and above, and then Girls in Leadership series ages 8 to 18. So we group them in 2 different. I think what Malik mentioned earlier was very clear. We want to always set those clear expectations, and knowing that when you say a mentor, it doesn't mean just help me for my business. Can you look at my business plan? Can you look at my financials? That's just not what mentors is all about. The mentors, what we provide is looking at you as a whole, your professional development, your personal development. How can we help inspire that? How can we help nurture that? So you can grow in business, you can grow in personal life, and you can open up to and deal with things that probably are hindering your growth per se. So for our Girls in Leadership series, for ages 8 to 18, we actually have where we match them with mentors, but they are local. Because local representation does matter for that. So we try to find other women in the Gambia, for example, or in the United States, if those girls are from the US, because I started a program in the United States. So to match them where they can see and feel and find that representation, where they can see that, okay, I want to be a doctor, and that doctor matching you to a doctor, so you can actually see that there's a Gambian woman, for example, that's a doctor. This is her journey, and gets to share that again because of representation. And so what we want to do in that is to create that sisterhood, and that was my main goal of really investing in the Woman Boss, is to create a sisterhood. So now, as Malik mentioned, we've actually done, we have our different programs, but for our 90-day accelerator program, we've had 65 women that have gone through the program, all local in the Gambia. Then we just implemented our first global virtual program, which just started actually this week on Monday. And it highlights women from 9 different countries from all over the world, from Europe, Africa, and United States, that get to connect. And now we're talking about global sisterhood. And they are going to be matched with mentors as well in the diaspora, whether it's in the United States or other parts of Africa, to find that linkages. And because one thing we want to do is, obviously sisterhood is one, another one is created in those market linkages later, so that your mentor can connect you, can sponsor you, speak your name into different rooms, which is very, very important. Some people think that, mentors are just, very cut and paste kind of deal, where you're sitting in and making phone calls and you guys talk, and not setting up the clear expectations, and that needs to change. And in addition to is that bond that you want to create with these women is, how can you go further and making sure you're speaking their name in the room, in rooms where they are not have the privy to. And so those are the things that I really wanted to highlight. And since it's already time for the 45 minutes of presentation, and we want to open it up for question and answers, I'll let Malik come back in and handle the Q&A. So thank you guys for listening in. And if you have any questions, I'll type my information in and you can reach out. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's just really great to learn more from you. Malik, do you have anything to say before I make some few announcements before the Q&A?
No, go ahead.
Okay, yeah, thank you, Malik. Thank you, Aaron. It's really great, and we're so glad that you came on board to share your story. Yeah, so before we go on to Q&A, I just want to make a few announcements. We will be having an afternoon session by 1 p.m. GMT, and that will be facilitated by Nadine. That will be for the Francophone community. So do well to invite your friends and colleagues who are part of the Francophone community. As we have announced, certificates will be given to all attendees at the end of the learning week section. While we wait for others to send in more questions, our Mary and Malik, I have a very good question. I have a question. Now, I like the fact of what you're doing. What the lady boss, what you do with the woman boss, what you do with matching up direct mentorship with these young people, especially with people in line of where they want to pursue. But then the question is, how do you measure impact over time? So, Malik, you mentioned how someone reached out to you to ask for you to be a mentor, and then first off, he didn't keep to time. But I want to ask both of you, and I want to get your feedback. Like over time, what strategies have you put in place to measure impact of this mentorship program and to ensure that really they are offering the value which you originally set out for them to offer?
That's a good question. For us, I'll tell you that to intake the mentorship program, we actually take a survey for all the entrepreneurs that come in to see where they are, looking at their evaluation tools. For example, before we even start a training program, we do a training a needs assessment. And those TNAs, we look at them. We know that, okay, this is what the entrepreneur needs. This is what we want to match them with. So we're just not matching somebody without any kind of correlation with another person just for matching's sake, for example. And we measure that with constantly surveying. So we survey in the beginning, we survey after the 3 months, and then we survey annually as well, just to see where the growth are and growth is, and take advantage of that. And also what we do for the young girls in leadership, where we match them to, is making sure those are a little bit more hand holding. And that's why we match them with local entrepreneurs, where they're doing the meetings, and we keep track of, how often are they meeting, for how long, what are projects being implemented, what's the after effects in their community or at home, things that have changed, etc. So you have to almost think about strategically what is going to be best for your community. For the Gambia, we know, but like we mentioned earlier, sometimes it doesn't work, the copy and paste, because what we had in the US, we came with that and we had to tweak, because even though it was still for the Senegambian community in the United States, in the Gambia, it was a little bit different, because girls and some women were a little bit more sheltered, and they didn't want to come out and speak up. It's not something that we encourage in our communities.
Thank you. Malik, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, like you said, we do surveys and try to collect a lot of the data that we need. So then that's based on, when we intake them, as a person that runs a tech company, of course, we leverage platforms that we use to make sure that we can collect that data in an intelligent way, and we can assess it. So Omar, I think he was on the call, he typically will create the surveys, and then we'll collect that. And based on what the goals were for the person and what they wanted to achieve with their business, we'll look at, let's say they wanted to increase revenue. So we'll look at, okay, what's the target if you want to increase revenue for the next 12 months? Then when we do those surveys, we'll can track, okay, if you are at $500,000 last year, but we ended this year, you're at 1.2 million, then we can kind of measure that progress. But then we also try to measure your progress as a business owner. Are you trying to still do everything? Are you doing accounting? Are you doing marketing? Are you doing all these things? So we look at different things that we kind of use to measure. That way we can either say, okay, now that you've reached this level, it's time to take away this particular task that you've been doing and moving on to somebody else. Maybe it's time to try to hire somebody else. So that data is really important for us to kind of collect. That way we can help them to continue to progress. And a lot of the stuff we use, tech-enabled systems to do a lot of that stuff for them. So those are some of the things that that we also add as an added benefit. Is some of them they can afford to use some of these systems, but Point Click will either give it to them for a certain period of time until they can afford to pay for it, or some of them they're still using it because they're not making enough to pay for it. So we use a lot of systems and technology to try to connect and do the assessments.
Okay, thank you, Mary, and thank you, Malik. Now I have a question. I know some of this systematic models you put in place was before COVID, but then how did COVID affect the running of the mentoring program? Now, how were you able to come up with strategies to work? So I know you had to still go back to the drawing board and come up with like new strategies, especially with the times and with the change COVID brought about. So how are you able to go about this? I believe a lot of the participants will want to learn more.
Actually, our program, because of COVID, did not really impact our program at all. All of our mentorship programs were all done virtually over the phone anyway, because like I mentioned earlier, it's the United States, especially for our women, women entrepreneurs. They're all matched with coaches or mentors that are in the United States. So they were all communicating via WhatsApp or Skype or anything else, via email. So that did not stop, from going. Our local Girls in Leadership, however, they had to go digital because they would meet with their mentors at local coffee shops and so on. And so that had to change. We were doing a lot of, WhatsApp calls. And that was the good thing because WhatsApp now has video, so you can do that. And most kids, in the Gambia, they have a smartphone. So that kind of worked in and helped with their, projects that they're working on. For our young girls, like in the Gambia, which is something I didn't mention, they're all, because we boost leadership, and I know some hubs maybe have leadership as a component, maybe not, but we focus a lot on leadership and creating the next generation of women leaders. And so with them, we enforce that they have to solve community challenges, like their own community challenges. So let's say, your community challenge within your area, your little town that you live in, Abuja, you want to create clean water, for example, because you don't have clean water. We help mentor through that process, but you come up as the young girl will help you with budgeting. How do you raise money for it? How do we go ahead and talk with leaders within your community to implement those projects? So those things did have to take a seat back a little bit because of COVID, but the planning process all happened virtually.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Malik. You want to add something?
Yeah, just to add, we've also done quite a bit of webinars. Like, for example, some of these women that didn't really have access to reach out to their contacts because it's usually done in the physical. So we did like a webinar on marketing. So using MailChimp or HubSpot and start, teaching them how to collect information. That way, they can at least communicate with their customers, because if you can be physical, you have to do that. Also, some of the platforms like, we do Microsoft Teams or Microsoft Office 365 platform or Google Suite. We did webinars to kind of teach them on how to leverage that so that they can work better with their teams remotely. We did some on cybersecurity as well, on making sure that now that you're getting online, how to protect your information, how to be safe online, and a lot of these things. So with COVID, we kind of implemented a lot of these strategies, more educational. That way they can learn how to work in a remote way, because a lot of these people didn't have any of these mechanisms. So we implemented some of these online training programs that we deliver for them, and then we upload the content on YouTube. And if they didn't have time, they can go on and rewatch it again.
Okay, you have so there's two direct questions. I think you want to continue the conversation after, and that's how do we apply for the program from Nigeria, and how can we get these mentors for the women and incorporate the Women Boss program in Nigeria? So you would have to answer that. Now, we have a question from Fumilayo, and it's like, any pointers of how you can effectively mentor a group of people at the same time, like not one-on-one. The group is a mix of males and females.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll take the question. I can just run down through it. I think I'll just start with the last one that just came in from Mariah. That's or maybe
Okay.
Maria. In the community having patriarchal system, how do you think mentorship strategies will fit? We in the Gambia have a huge patriarchal system, and we just it's you have to educate a lot. Because when we first came aboard, like Malik mentioned, where we have men that are coming on and saying the man boss, how come you not have the man boss? And we had to reassure them that, look, you're a boss at home, your boss in the office, your boss everywhere you go. We just want a little space for us, by us. And is that okay? Like, can we just have something? So I think you have to educate them to let them know that you're not coming in to take anything from them. We're actually making your home better by empowering your girls and your women. And so that's what I would say for us. I mean, we have a really patriarchal system, and the mentorship strategies really do work well when you communicate them, whatever that you think will be benefiting for your society and your community. Any pointers on how to effectively mentor a group of people at the same time? I think we can, what Malik mentioned earlier about the master classes, that's one, because it's in a group setting, watching videos together, reading the book club, like the book club. Those are all things that you can do within a group, or having them, because like right now we're working with a program, we've implemented a new program where we are working with creative industries, and there's about 30 entrepreneurs. And the coaching, even though we have some component that's doing one-on-one, for the rest of a majority is a group setting. And within the group setting, it will be, having invited guest speakers. It will be myself, will be Malik, or other staff that will come in and share information, and make it very comfortable and safe, where they can open up and ask questions without feeling like, oh, I don't want to ask these questions. And I think you want to always create a safe space for your entrepreneurs. How can we get these mentors for women, and how can we incorporate this Woman Boss program in Nigeria? Great to hear. If you're interested in incorporating the Woman Boss and bringing it as a program in Nigeria, please reach out to me. I'll send you email about it. If you want to apply for the virtual program, right now we're currently going through one. We will open another virtual program in March, so stay tuned. If you sign up to receive our newsletters, we can send information there, or just follow me on Twitter if that's easier for you, and you'll see when we have a new application. We always have applications open 2 to 3 times a year. So the second virtual program will be opening in March. So stay tuned for that if you want to apply. And are there any charges for our mentorship program? No, it is all free.
Okay, there are 2 more questions that came in. Yolanda is saying, how do you set up your library of ebooks and audiobooks? And there's a comment from Medley. She's asking how you can share experiences because they are working with women in business from Sierra Leone. So I guess she would have to reach out to you after.
Yes, for sure.
The question.
Yeah.
Malik, do you want to answer the question from Yolanda?
Yeah. So what we've done in the beginning, I was just using my own personal account with Audible. You have to have an Amazon account, and then whatever books I already had in my library, I made that available. But we have since shifted that, and I've added all the books that I know have been really helpful to me into the space. Some of those physical books that we have that I showed the screenshot of. So every physical book, I try to get an audio book for it as well, or ebook of it. That way, if we don't have enough, we have another way of distributing it. So it's just based on, for me, I don't like to just give people something to read or to do without me first going through it to see if it's helpful. So I try to go through a lot of it myself, or maybe somebody, if I meet other friends, I always share ideas from other people, or if somebody has read any books or whatever, we'll just add that. So I typically just find what is it that is in those programs that will be particularly helpful, again, in a local context, in a local setting, also, capturing the cultural things. So those are just some of the ways that we kind of pick books today. We don't have like a set methodology at all, but it's just based on what we know would be helpful.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. I have one last question, and then we'll call it a wrap. Now, the question is, how do you get your mentors to commit their time? First off, you said the mentorship program is free. So is there like an incentive for these mentors? Because we know that in the space we are in, time is really, really, really
Right.
essential. So how do you get these mentors to commit? Like you have mentioned that they have one-on-one with these mentees. How do you get them to plug in and commit their time? Is there incentive?
Yeah.
What models do you use for this?
I'll tell you, here's the thing, right? So, you know, the saying, your network is your net worth. I am very fortunate. I've been very fortunate to have very strong women behind me. And so everybody is, you know, my mentor, the women mentors that are part of this program, they're all either really good friends or they believe in service. And this is about service. It's you know, giving your time, your 1 hour or 2 hours a month, which is really not that much, to help somebody else. And I think when you really look at it, like your Rolodex, your network, your, you know, business cards that you collect, try to create that, you know, network and that commitment from other women where they're investing in you, but investing further. For me, it was like, hey, look, guys, you know, this is my new venture. This is what I've invested my entire, you know, resources, my time. Can you support me? And your support really is, can you give 2 hours a month, you know, during mentorship, you know, to mentor some of these women? And this is great because now, you know, not only are you being featured on our website and then get to speak to our mentors, but I'm connecting you, the diaspora, to an outside world. You know, right now, especially, you know, you see what's happening with, you know, a lot of African Americans feel that they need to migrate back to Africa, feeling that connection back to the continent. What I'm giving them is even better, because I'm saying that you can get connected to the continent without even stepping foot in the continent. You get to talk to somebody, a sister in the continent. It's almost like a sorority. You know, but all over. Or pen friend. Do you all remember? You know, I had a pen friend in Ghana when I was, you know, growing up from the Gambia, and I couldn't wait to write her letters because I felt connected in Ghana. And this is the same way. They feel connected in another community where they didn't know. So they get to learn. So it's a win-win. They get to learn about culture and norm and things that are doing, or even business, how it's run in Africa. And they, you know, in turn, get to share some of that experiences. Now, not all of them are African American. Obviously, there are some that are Africans that are living in the diaspora that want to give back, and this is a way for them to give back. So I would always say, start small, then get bigger. So, and then sporadically spread the mentorship. So if you have a total of 20 mentors, for example, you can't have 100, you know, mentees. Then you're overwhelming them. But you can spread it out slowly to say, okay, this program, like for example, our 90-day accelerator program runs for 90 days. And so you have the mentor and the mentee relationship for 90 days. However, it's a lifelong process and it doesn't end. Even though my program per se ended, they have already bonded. And so they've already created that sisterhood that I can't say, oh, don't talk to them. So they're going to find time to talk. It might not be all the time, but they'll keep up. And that's what's been very successful.
Okay, thank you so much. Malik, do you have anything to say?
Yeah, I think, you know, a lot of times we kind of tend to think that we are stealing time away from mentors, right? But the mentors also kind of get benefits from mentoring people. If you're bringing mentors that think that they're too big to kind of help somebody else, that they will not learn from somebody else. Just in the short time that I've been in Gambia, I've learned so much about myself. Things I thought I was good at, but because the people that I'm meeting, the people I'm talking to, the people I'm helping, they're actually helping me too. So they're doing me a favor. So many mentors, you know, they also want to learn. So it's not something you have to sell them, okay? The other thing is, again, your connection and your intention. If they buy into that, it's not a big sell for you. They will want to help you. I can call any of the top people in Gambia, most desired mentors, and say, hey, I get this going on. Can you show up for an hour and speak? They will do it just like that. Because they see that we're investing in the stuff that we want to do. So I don't think you should be afraid to ask anybody, but you always have to kind of show that you believe in what you're doing, and then they also want to come in and help you out and support you. We don't do, I think we recently launched, maybe our American can talk about it, a paid mentorship program because you have certain people that also want to just waste your time, or they want to take advantage of you. You give them an inch, they want to take 10 yards. So for those, we created a package and say, okay, if you want to do it this way, you can just pay $20. I mean, it's like really low, $20 a month, and you get 45 minutes of my time or somebody's time, and you go through that. Because that is a way of showing, because some people free, they don't see any value in free, right? So for those people that want to waste time and kind of behave different ways, you can just tell them, well, we have a mentorship program for that. You can hear the packages. If you go to the website, you'll see it. And it's just low. It's very low, but it's at least, if they feel like they're paying for something, they'll be able to make sure that they commit their time. And then us as the mentor or whoever's doing it would at least, be able to do it. So mentors are there. They are always ready to learn themselves. So if you have people that have these big egos and things like that, I don't think you should put those people in connection with your mentees.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Mary, and thank you, Malik. We have come to the end of today's section. Just like I stated earlier on, we hope you took part in the survey. We tested on sticky notes. And yes, there is a next session in the next 54 minutes for the Francophone community, and that will be facilitated by Nadine Zoro of Shukuba. Also, please make sure to tune in tomorrow because after tomorrow's session, we will be making an announcement of the meetup grants and also how you're going to get your certificate. Yeah, and lastly, we want to thank AFD and Digital Africa for this opportunity. Thank you, Malik. Thank you, Awamiri. I don't know if you have any final statement, and we'll call it a wrap.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. It's been a pleasure. We wanted to expand it not just beyond Gambia and other countries. So this gives us that platform. And AfriLabs, just one thing, you guys are doing a phenomenal job. Phenomenal job. Keep it up. We love the programs, and we want to participate. We want to participate. So whatever we can do to help, always let us know. But thank you so much, and thanks to everybody. It's been an honor.
Yeah, Malik and Awame, please can you just type in your email address in the chat box? Although we'll be sharing the slides with everyone post the session, and you will be getting the replay video. As usual, feel free to reach out to them if you have more questions, and also feel free to reach out to me at kenny@afrilabs.com should you have more questions, or if you're yet to be part of the AfriLabs network and you want to join the AfriLabs network, please do so. Do have a great day, everyone.
Thank you. You too. Bye.
Thank you.
All right.